Hello there, welcome to episode 20 of Never Mind the Bullens. My name's Mike Peters. This is your bite-sized weekly Everton podcast and vodcast in the wake of an absolutely pulsating 237th Merseyside Derby. Honours even, lots to discuss, as there always is with the Derby, but I mean, you cast your mind back a couple of months to the pretty insipid game that took place at Goodison in June. It was the first game after the restart, so that is to be expected, really. This was a derby that those of us that have got a long history of watching derbies at Goodison will remember. You know, it had all the elements: controversy, send-ins off, goals, chances, mistakes, thunderous tackles, you name it, it had the lot. So let's get into it. Firstly, Dominic Calvert-Lewin just continues his exceptional form. We don't think we used him enough today. You know, took that goal that he did get, obviously, absolutely beautifully. Great cross from Luca Dean, and he rose. I mean, he almost levitated to actually head that into the back of the net. It was a brilliant header back across Adrian. And he's now joined the illustrious list with the likes of Fred Geary, Sandy Young, Dixie Dean, Tommy Lawton to score in each of Everton's first 5 league games of the season and continuing his outstanding form. Thanks to EFC Stato for that one. That's an absolute cracker, that one. But obviously, you know, he didn't get a huge amount of service, but his control was impeccable. And when he got the ball and was having to hold it up as a centre forward, he did that fantastically. But, you know, there's no question that Everton rode the luck today, and Liverpool were probably the better team. I don't think we can really quibble about that, particularly in midfield. Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré, but Andre Gomes particularly, were just not at the pace of the game to start with. And again, this goes back to something that I've been talking about regularly, about us starting games quicker, really sharp. We weren't that, and obviously we conceded inside 3 minutes. Andre Gomes, I just thought, never got to the pace of the game at all. Alan did get better as the game went on. So did Abdoulaye Doucouré, to be fair to him. But I was thinking about bringing Gylfi Sigurdsson on. Text my brother. Hello, Simon, because I know he's listening. Suggested bringing Gylfi Sigurdsson on at half time because Andre is just not quite there. I know, you know, we're doing great and I don't want to start digging anybody out, but that doesn't mean just because we've won obviously 4 games and on 7 in all competitions and we're top of the league, it doesn't mean that absolutely everybody's firing on all cylinders. And obviously we've discussed a couple of those that aren't, namely Jordan Pickford. We'll get to him in just a second, but yeah, Andre was not quite there. He was really trying second half, but just was constantly being caught in possession, didn't have the pace today to get beyond, you know, a very pacey Liverpool midfield, to be fair, but just couldn't get beyond it. Was out constantly having to go, right, I can't get past them, I'm going to have to turn around and go back, and it sort of killed the momentum with which we've played so far this season. But it's a test, you know, let's be fair, the games that we've played so far this season are against mid-table teams, and, you know, other than Spurs on the opening day, but you know, games that we would expect to have enough pace and enough guile to win them. When you're stepping it up to play the champions or teams that are going for Champions League places, and yes, I know we've already played Tottenham, but you know, you've got to have that extra couple of gears to go through, and he just needs to find those. Jordan Pickford today, well, what an afternoon for him. I mean, you know, goodness me, he needs to go and sit down in a darkened room somewhere after that, I would have thought, because, you know, goes out and takes out Virgil van Dijk early on, and arguably could have been sent off. Should have been, if your name is Steve McManaman. We will return to later on. Makes 2 really good saves. The first one more for the cameras, I have to say. The Trent Alexander-Arnold free kick was relatively close to him. You'd expect him to make that save, but the Joel Matip header was a fantastic save. That was a world-class save. And then he goes and, you know, gets too strong a hand on the ball, said Martin Keown. That's straight into the Coleman Ball section of Private Eye, I think, that one. And then gifts away what probably should have been the winning goal, really. You know, a very comfortable, routine save you'd expect any Premier League goalkeeper to make, let alone an international goalkeeper. And he's got away with one there. He really has. So a real mixed bag for him. But those saves that he did make, I hope will give him some confidence. But, you know, he came and punched well. Obviously, you know, he came out rushing out of his goal in midweek against Denmark, and it all went a bit pear-shaped, conceded the penalty, of course. So, you know, it really is six of one, half dozen of the other with him at the minute. He goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. And Dion Dublin was saying on Football Focus, and it was a pretty valid point. They said, what do you want to see from him? And he said, I just want to. You want to see that. You want to see consistency from him. Which we're just not seeing at the minute. His performances is very, very up and down for club and for country. Next we move on to Yerry Mina. Definitely at fault for the second goal. That attempted clearance that fell straight to Mo Salah. I will say with Jordan Pickford that he didn't have a chance with either of the goals. I will say that to him, other than the one that was disallowed. But neither of the goals that stood he could do anything about. But Yerry Mina, again, that's Yerry Mina he's going to have a moment like that, I think, in every game. And sometimes you're going to get away with it. But in the Premier League, more often than not, when you make mistakes like that, you're going to get punished. And today, we got punished for that. And it's cost us a goal. So great to see Ben Godfrey get on. I thought he did very well, coming into an unfamiliar position, having to play right back for his debut. I thought he did well. But to me, the return of Mason Holgate just can't come soon enough. Mina, even against Brighton, was partially at fault for the goal by just being sort of dithering when the ball fell to him. I mean, it was predominantly Jordan Pickford's fault, as we've said. But yeah, I just want Holgate in there. I want more solidity. Moving on to VAR. Well, I mean, we have had very little luck. If you can cast your mind back in derby matches and disallowed goals down the years and last-minute goals and all the rest of it that have gone against us. 20 years ago, cast your minds to Don Hutchison walking off his back and Graham Poll going, aye, that's your lot, and off we toddle back into the dressing room in a game that we should have won. So, I mean, the problem is not the way the decision, because the decision was technically right. The problem is that shouldn't never be a decision that even comes up. To me, when I looked at it, I'm thinking that should be onside. And I think if that was a goal disallowed against Everton, we would be up in arms right now. But, it is extremely funny, let's be fair. It's time that our luck changed in derby matches, because partly through our own fault by being absolutely rubbish. We've had little or no luck in derby matches down the years with red cards and all the rest of it. Speaking of which, Richarlison, really silly challenge, doesn't need to make it. And now we lose him for a couple of games, and that's a blow. Hopefully Seamus Coleman's not out for too long either, with the sort of little hamstring tweak that he went off with no John Joe Kenny for the next couple of weeks. But hopefully with other defenders coming back in, Jared Branthwaite, I should say, Ben Godfrey now in the squad, that hopefully that shouldn't affect us too much, and Mason Holgate hopefully not being too far away from a return as well. And now I've got to return lastly to something that we talked about quite a bit over the course of never mind the Bullens in its short life so far, and that's punditry. And I've become so royally fed up with bias from pundits, and today was an absolute exception. I mean, the number of things that have been closed down in Liverpool this week, and Steve McManaman's mouth wasn't one of them. It's absolutely extraordinary. Surely in the interest of public health, they should have shut it. Martin Keown was just as bad today, so don't think I'm just bagging out Steve McManaman, but it was awful. I mean, the level of, I don't give a toss who teams played for, players played for, but they have a duty, they have a responsibility as professional broadcasters, and that's what they are. And I say that as one myself, that they have to be objective in what they do. It's written into broadcast law, and they don't seem to be able to do it. We want passion, we want insight. That's what we want as supporters. What we cannot stomach is absolutely flagrant bias. And Steve McManaman today exuded all of that. And he's not alone in that. Martin Keown just exudes a mangling of the English language that I never thought possible, but he somehow manages to do it. And somehow manages to stay in employment as well. And then the aftermath of the game, I didn't watch any of the analysis at half-time on BT, because I find BT's coverage generally pretty poor, but it was awful after the game. Just the digging out of Jordan Pickford for the challenge and all the rest of it, and so on and so forth. And then the absolute pièce de résistance on this was Des Kelly's interview with Jurgen Klopp, where he basically let him go, well, that should be a red card, surely. Your job, and he's a newspaper journalist of long standing and has been on doing television for a long time. Your job is to ask questions to elicit answers, not give the person that you're interviewing questions. Or give the person that you're interviewing the answers. That's not how it works. So can everybody, Sky, BT, everyone, up your game and be a little bit more objective? The rest of us would absolutely love that. I don't care who you support. Anyway, moving on. Next week, Southampton away. Obviously, a chance for us to, get back on and stay at the top of the league. We are still at the top of the league, let's be fair. And still unbeaten, and long may that continue. So, until next time, top of the league. Come on, you Blues.